Hi there. Welcome to the veritable edge of Western civilization yet again. I am your host, David Alexander English. Today is Thursday, January 29th, 2015. Yes, we are living in the future. And this is show number 147. And it is an overcast, but still day here on the beach. Not too chilly. And I'm really glad to be alive. So there, take that. Time to start a new painting, I'd say. Yes. Alrighty then. This is what the board looks like at this point. There we go. The last 2 days I totally forgot to bring canvas to the beach. I'm going to need it. I'm going to do this. Let's see.
Have a good rest of the day.
You too.
Red line, looks nice.
So we have 66%. And I would like I have something in mind here. I would like to see how close we can come to doing it all in one shot today. Cool. Way over yonder. Do-do-do-do. I really like this color blue. What's that? I think it's called Cal Blue Deep. Oh, red shade. Cal Blue red shade. Yeah. I went to the paint store, Nova Color here in LA. This is all they do is artist paints, and I had an extra $15. Let myself go a little crazy. Buying a couple extras. Yes, sir. Hi, how you doing? Trying to escape. And not even going to let it dry. We're just going to jump right into the sacred geometry part of this exercise. Wow, that's perfectly square. That's pretty cool. But it's 17 by 17. Seventeen. Good. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, way over. Yantras are in the Hindu tradition. The yantra is it's a piece of spiritual technology that, if you focus on it long enough, it'll bring your brainwave pattern to 7 cycles per second. The optimum meditative state will bring you into a theta state. And there are usually certain components that are in this yantra. Those yantras. Like yantras are what, when you see the Tibetan monks, painting sand painting. If you ever see Tibetan monks doing sand paintings, a lot of the elements in their pieces are yantra elements, and but if you were to Google yantras, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's spelled Y-A-N-T-R-A. It's like a visual mantra. Mantras are, obviously words that you repeat, or utterances, nonsense utterances that you can repeat and have the same effect. They'll affect your brainwave pattern and drop it into theta. And so this is a variation on the yantra. And it has this, often you'll see yantras presented where there are these squaring elements on the outside and a centering element in the middle. So here's something kind of unrelated. But it's related to what I was talking about yesterday, where we got 34%. We're good. We're in good shape. According to the Book of the Hopi, you know, once again, if you've never seen any of my shows or anything like that, you know, I discovered these archaeological sites in Big Sur that I feel are connected to the Hopi story of the survivors of the last year of purification by flood and the place of emergence into the fourth world. And their oral tradition goes back to 3 previous world destructions, the first by fire, the second by ice, and the third by flood. So according to their cosmology, we are living in the fourth world because the nephew of the Great Spirit destroyed the world 3 times before. And there, you know, my initial introduction to this information came from reading Frank Waters' 1961 book called The Book of the Hopi, where he interviewed, he lived with and interviewed over 30 Hopi elders. He lived in Hopi land for over 3 years, and compiled all this information about the Hopi. And so, you know, they shared with him their oral tradition, and according to their oral tradition, there was a time, I believe it was between this, after the first world destruction, so it was in the second world, right? So between the first world and the third world, in the second world, there was people had the technology to fly between cities. And they flew on these things that the Hopi called these shields, because they look like shields. They look like a very good possibility what we're talking about is some sort of round craft. Possibly round, possibly delta shaped, you know, triangular shaped. And in fact, they say that one of the reasons why the nephew of the Great Spirit destroyed the world was because people started to use that technology to make war on one another. But, you know, I was thinking about this. Last night I was watching the Ancient Alien stuff again. And one of the things that really has kind of stuck with me or struck me in a sense was that each one of these worlds, the reason why they were destroyed, or the way that the initiation of their destruction occurred when, you know, the Hopi describe what exactly happened during these destructions. So I've been able to correlate these, you know, what the particulars of these, you know, the particular manifestations of these destructions to specific events that have happened over the past 70, 80,000 years. And each one of those, you know, 3 previous world destructions, they all have a common origin, right? And that common origin is a pulse of energy, an explosion, if you will, at the galactic center, the center of the Milky Way galaxy, which is approximately 27,000 light years away. That means it takes, whatever happens at the center of the Milky Way galaxy takes 27,000 years to arrive here in our solar system. And there were several events that occurred as a result of a chain reaction of what's known as a galactic superwave of energy, an explosion, a pulsing of energy coming from the galactic center. And like the last world destruction occurred most likely from the energy. There was a supernova called the Vela supernova. Giant star went supernova in the constellation Vela, which is in the southern hemisphere, and approximately 14,000 years ago. And but the reason why it went supernova was because of this gravity wave, which is the leading edge, on the leading edge of this pulse of energy coming from the galactic center. And I mean, this has been computer modeled, and in fact, you can watch a computer graphic of this, pulse coming from the galactic center, triggering the Vela supernova, and then continuing on and eventually triggering the Crab Nebula, which, the Crab Nebula was the remnants of a supernova, a star that went supernova in the Crab constellation. And the energy from the Crab supernova arrived here on the Earth, in the solar system, around 1000 AD. And we know this because the Chinese kept records of that. The Chinese astronomers observed the supernova, what became the Crab Nebula going supernova. And we know that's, I think the Crab Nebula is about 600 light years away. So we know that, 600 years, 6,000 light years away, I'm saying. And so we know that light arrived here at approximately 1,000 years ago, and was observed. But it's the light from an event that happened 6,000 years before that. And it was triggered by an event that happened 27,000 years ago at the center of the Milky Way galaxy. And so there's actually a graphic where you can watch this pulse of energy coming from the galactic center, triggering the Vela supernova, passing through our solar system, and then triggering the Crab Nebula, which is further out in our galaxy than we are from the galactic center. So anyway, I went into all that to kind of just give a general background that each one of these destructions occurred and were initially triggered by something that happened at the galactic center. But the way that humanity processed this event is as just like if something happened right now, today, and a lot of the people on the planet that survived that were very religious would say that it was because we were bad and we moralistic. Their reason for why this happened would be something to do with morality, and in fact the way that the Hopi record this event, in other words, the way that they relate it and pass it down from generation to generation is that each time that the nephew of the Great Spirit wanted to destroy the world, that he told those who remembered to keep the tops of their heads open to go to a certain place and do a certain thing in order to survive the purification. Now, that means that there are those that didn't, the majority of the population that perished didn't have their the tops of their heads open, right? They were, so closed down. What does it mean to have the top of your head open to the rest of the universe? It means that you're obviously open, that you're psychically aware, that you're cultivating a relationship, a conscious relationship with the ultimate reality, essentially, and an accurate one. Yet, I have no, I have no. It makes sense to me. I've been thinking about this a lot lately because I look at things that like what's happening with ISIS, for instance. You know, the Islamic State. You know, as in Boko Haram and you know all these fundamentalists. You know, if they had their way, the world that they, you know, if they were successful in conquering the world, right? Then and establishing a global caliphate, then and let's say you know a pulse of energy came from the galactic center and this world, and the majority of the people on the planet would say the reason why this happened was because you know there were people who forgot to keep their relationship with divinity. You know, they would explain it in a way that justified their own morality. And when you know, scientifically, you know, okay, the generation of people that would survive a world destruction, the seeds of the destruction occurred, you know, were initiated 27,000 light years, 27,000 years before each one of those destructions took place. So like well before anybody, you know, forgot to keep the tops of their heads open to the rest of the universe was constructing a situation where this galactic superwave was pulsing out from the center, you know, and it didn't matter what kind of morality you had going on, eventually that galactic superwave was going to arrive in this part of the galaxy. You know, well before any of those folks were born, you know, or their cultures existed or anything like that. So anyway, blah blah. The things a guy thinks about when he's painting a canvas at the beach. That's all. That's all I'm saying. So now we're going off script. But then there's this other side to it, because, you know, we're all infinite immortal beings, you know. Those folks that survived, you know, chose to be alive. They chose to, as infinite immortal beings, they chose to be alive during, at that moment of the world destruction, in order to, you know, as souls, they made that decision, you know, to do service, you know. That was their agreement, was to be part of that generation, just like the folks that are on the planet right now have agreed to be alive right now for whatever's happening, whatever happens. And I'm developing this theory about about these waves of incarnations, you know, that humanity has been building up an infrastructure to support more humanity incarnating, more souls incarnating. I mean, that's what we've been doing for the past, 12,000 years, is getting to a point where we can have a time when there can be a massive influx of incarnating souls. And we are at that point, obviously, because there's 7 billion of us now. 7.29, almost 7.3 billion souls as of 2 nights ago. I checked. Hello. There's an airplane on your chest, just so you know.
You said what?
I said there's an airplane on your chest, just so you know.
Yeah.
No problem. Sometimes you just don't realize these things.
That's true.
Yeah.
You get a lot of those, huh?
Yeah. Did you say you thought it was a painting?
Yeah, this. It's not bad. Yeah, I really like it.
It's actually a black-eyed Susan that I photographed in Utah. But I have sunflowers. There's one right there, actually.
Yep.
I have something even better.
Oh, it's so dope. What's better?
Instagram.
Oh, you have something even better.
You can photograph that. Just my Instagram thing.
You're gonna follow me back?
We'll see. We'll see. What's your thing?
We're about to follow you right now. Go on. Found you.
Excellent.
And following.
Excellent.
So you should still follow me back.
What's your Instagram?
It's gonna be Shandy Today.
Uh-huh.
So it's gonna be the first person I followed you, and then your phone pops up.
Okay. Yep. Cool. Excellent. Okay.
Can I take a picture of your Instagram?
Please. I have to say, as a new Instagrammer, I don't really, I mean, I've had the account for a couple of years, but I don't really get it. I don't really get Instagram, but I don't understand why it's so popular. But when people find out that I have an Instagram, they're like, "You have an Instagram? That's wonderful." Like, whatever. Okay, so we got 3% left. This is the painting as it is right now. We'll see how it goes from here. And tomorrow is Friday, last show of the week. And yeah, that's it. So bring this down here. Hi. Remember, we love you.